Good morning from CityWalk at Universal Studios Hollywood. We're starting this update right off the bat with the former Chick Chicken and Francesca because they just added signage for the new stores and cafe that's about to open at some point this year or next year. Today is a Friday. A lot more clear skies, but I can't tell if those clouds are approaching us or going the opposite direction. I hope the opposite direction. And we have a pretty big Horror Nights announcement today. I think this might be our last Scarezone to be announced, but they just announced that this section of the park will be Lordz, and this will be a very gothic and almost like Renaissance-esque Scarezone. You step into the kingdom of the undead as you come across gothic kings and queens. This Scarezone is going to be insane. And like I was talking about in maybe yesterday's video, I talked about Chainsaw Punkz, which is going to be located right over here as the opening Scarezone. Definitely complements this Scarezone over here. I believe both outfits will be containing skulls of some sort. I'm sure Chainsaw skulls will just be like people with skull masks and mohawks and stuff like that. And maybe in this Renaissance Scarezone, we'll see like gothic kings and queens with skull masks. The attire will be different. I'm sure the music and vibe will be different. But it's kind of cool to see like a gothic and punk Scarezone clash together. Now, we still don't have any decorations that have gone up, but I'm very curious to see how they're going to pull this off. We have Power Up Cafe over here, which is one of the newer dining locations in the park. It's very vibrant, it's very bright. I don't know how they're gonna make it work and flow well with the gothic theme over here. And like I mentioned, Plaza is always the first stop. We have Woody walking around. Winnie isn't out today though. No sign of Winnie. Now looking at the Monstruos facade. We were talking about this yesterday in the comment section with Royce, Charlton, and I think Ocean Z Music. Let me know if I got that correct or not. But we're talking about these dolls hanging in the tree, and they mentioned something pretty smart. This might be a reference to Island of Dolls in Mexico City. Now, I'm not really going to dive deep into the story of why these dolls are here and why those dolls were located in Mexico City. If you look up images and if you look up the story, that'll tell you a lot about what happened. But it's very possible that in the treatment, the Island of Dolls was included for the facade. So we have a small representation of that. Looking closer onto some of the details, I don't think we have any form of representation to any of the monsters or Monstruos in the Monstruos house. Over here we have some painted skulls. This is most likely for Dia de los Muertos. It's right by the pictures of some family members with candles and stuff, and it looks like dead flowers. So just understanding the time frame of this haunted house, it looks like this takes place on either like November 1st or 2nd, like maybe directly after Dia de los Muertos, because a lot of those flowers are dead. And that makes a lot of sense. So this might carry the inside of this facade, we might see some like graves and little, I don't know what it's called exactly, but when you go to a graveyard, you see those like big structures with a bunch of bodies inside. I feel like we're gonna see that inside of this facade. That might be the opener. I'm not exactly sure how the story rolls. Universal Orlando is doing something pretty cool for their Monstruos haunted house. Every year now, they release a podcast talking about each individual haunted house. And this year I had to listen to the Monstruos haunted house just to see how they play it off. And it starts off at a campfire where kids are talking about some of the Monstruos like La Lechuza, El Sabon. And I guess they hear screeching, they all split up. And that's how the story rolls. Obviously, they come face to face with some of those Monstruos. I think the most similar aspect of Orlando's haunted house from Hollywood's last year was that it ends with Muerta saying, "This grave is for you." I just realized that we do have a few reused signage over here. This one says something about La Muerta. It starts with La Muerta and ends in Llega. And then I think that bottom sign says Cementerio. It's kind of covered up in vines, so it's hard to see what the rest says, but that's cool. I think these signs are the same from last year, and they're also kind of located in the same section as last year's facade. Anyways, that's our little deep dive onto the facade of Monstruos. Very excited to see how this haunted house turns out to be, and I'm excited to hear all about the story. And that haunted house dumps you into this scare zone over here. This will be themed to the Luchadores. Merdy shared a lot of concept art for the costumes we could expect in this scare zone. Now, we have some pretty cool costumes for this scare zone, but the costumes that stood out the most to me were the luchadores that look almost identical to our Universal monsters. We have Frankenstein, but not exactly Frankenstein. We have the creature from the Black Lagoon. By the way, our first time seeing him in person here in Hollywood, but not exactly creature from the Black Lagoon. Regardless, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I think this is going to be probably one of my favorite scare zones we've had. One thing I'm hoping for this scare zone is that we have different music. They've been reusing that La Llorona soundtrack over and over and over. And I hope that this year they don't use that song over here in this scare zone. This seems like a more fun scare zone, a more like active scare zone. So I'm expecting some faster paced music. In today's Fast and Furious coaster updates, we're seeing a lot of activity on the back end of the project. Actually, the crane is dropping something off as we speak. It's so close to us. And we're not really sure what they're doing up at the Mech Bake, but they have a lot of work, and this past like maybe 2 or 3 days we've been seeing a lot of activity up there, but it's really hard to see what they're doing exactly. You can only really just zoom onto it and try to take a guess. It looks like they might be putting some safety, not netting, but like rope. A lot of work going on the bottom half as well. Some new scaffolding over here that I haven't seen yesterday. Outside of that, everything else has pretty much remained the same. We'll take another look at the project in a moment. Oh yeah, they were digging out some holes yesterday, and it looks like they are installing more footers as we speak. These weren't here yesterday, so all of this is new. And I think those bottom footers are new as well. Oh yeah, the cement looks a little bit darker, so I think that is new or freshly poured cement. It's only 1 o'clock right now, so they must have done this maybe at 7 in the morning. I didn't acknowledge this in yesterday's update, but the structural steel that we have over here, these 3 beams that are sticking up, those are new as well. The crane is rotating very quickly right now. Oh wow, look what it's holding up. This is something you don't really see that often. So we're gonna watch this happen. Looks like it's starting to bring it down, I think. I don't know, this is kind of frightening to stand right underneath. Look at the counterweights at the back of the crane. Wow. Just looking into the future, it's gonna be so weird to have a roller coaster here, let alone no crane and no construction vehicles and no like construction in general. This is actually like our first time watching a roller coaster be built from the ground up. We've seen attractions be built from the ground up, like Secret Life of Pets, or maybe even Super Nintendo World and the Wizarding World of Harry Potter going way back then, but never a roller coaster. So this is very interesting. I have to go back into my old like computers and stuff and see if I have any footage from when Potter was being constructed. I remember I also had clips of Simpsons Land being constructed maybe back in 2014. That was madness. We had construction walls, literally like one wall would be here, the other wall would be there. It would cause such a traffic jam. And that was on both sides of Simpsons Land approaching the Simpsons ride. And I never really acknowledged this because of the time I've been going through recently, but this is my 10th year doing YouTube. We started, I think, June 8th of 2014, but I have videos from like way past that as well. My dad used to take videos every time we were here, but June 8th of 2014, that was like when this channel was born. It's also pretty crazy how close we can come up to this track. Here's another angle of the coaster right now. Not many changes from the bottom up, outside of those new coaster footers that we're seeing. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to see what they're doing on that back end of the project. They didn't remove all the trees yet, so a lot of things are blocking that back half. But we can see some construction vehicles pushing dirt around. We see those coaster footers all the way in the back half of the project. That crazy track piece is still up there. I wonder how long it's going to take for them to install this track piece. It's pretty crazy, but right now it seems like their focus is mostly on installing those track switches between the mech bay and all of the other stations. I don't think it's going to be a dual station now that I look at it. Looking at dead exposure now, we showed this off in yesterday's video, but in case you missed it, they installed the lighting. The lighting trusses are up. I wouldn't doubt if they're already audio and lighting testing right now. I did notice that we do have a little more detail towards that back part, or maybe even the entrance of the haunted house. We have like little caution, I don't want to call it caution tape, but like little caution signals. It also seems like the back half of the project, or the maze, I don't know why I keep calling it the project. The back half of the maze has lighting installed already, and this is for the path to exit the haunted house. I wouldn't doubt if we have lighting trusses installed all the way to where the exit of Transformers is. But yeah, we're almost a month away from Horror Nights starting. Begins September 5th this year, and we have a pretty long run. It extends till November 3rd. I'm not too certain if I'm going to be attending Orlando's event this year. Their event begins on August 30th, and if you want to visit a day earlier, you actually have that option. For the 29th of August, they have this crazy ticket deal. It's $350, maybe $370 with tax. And this allows you to go through almost every single maze as many times as you want. It's a limited capacity event. All the food and drinks are unlimited. I don't know about alcohol, but themed drinks and food are unlimited. You have unlimited walkthroughs through the maze and limited capacity. So I think that's the perfect night to visit Horror Nights if you are going for your very first time in Orlando. As back to school season kicks in now through September 1st, Universal encourages you to share your house pride by dressing up in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, both here in Hollywood and in Orlando. And in celebration of that, they're also debuting a specialty themed item in Honeydukes called the Ice Biscuit. We haven't seen any images of this quite yet, but I will be here to try it out on the 12th of August. Very excited for that. And in honor of that, let's head into the Outpost / Glad Drags, Wizardwear, and the other stores in this little location. All right, inside I'm seeing a restock on these little Loungefly-esque bags from each individual Hogwarts house. I believe that's a new bag. I don't think I've seen this in the park yet. But we have a little Gryffindor robe bag. I think this is a restock, or they've just moved it around, but they have the Spellmaker map, and you can buy each individual coin or token to fit into the map. Especially after mastering each individual spell, I think this is a really cool souvenir. A lot of people don't walk into this shop, but this is where you can actually find moving brooms. Oh, I think this is actually pretty cool. I've never seen this. It might be new, it might be a restock here, but they have a duffel bag dedicated to Quidditch. It's actually pretty cool. I might need this for the gym. This entire section is definitely new. Maybe not everything, but a lot of it is new. Like these over here. Look at that. Look at these keychains. Definitely perfect to represent your house from Hogwarts. And these are really cool. You could attach this to your belt, maybe? It's a longer keychain. And they also have patches that you could sew onto your... actually, I think they're just iron-on. So you could just iron it onto like a jean jacket or something. They still have these pumpkin juice sippers, and the first refill is free, but on the day of your purchase, $4.29 on any refill, which is great. I've actually never had pumpkin juice. I don't think I even like pumpkins. I think you can refill it in 3 broomsticks, but I think, if I'm not wrong, they sell it at this little shopping cart. They used to, at least. It doesn't look like they do that anymore, but they do sell like butterbeer ice cream here now. And beer. And gilly water. The one thing they should bring from Orlando is the little like spells you could put in your gilly water. They have little potions that you could put in, and they're flavored differently. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it looks like you can only purchase pumpkin water or pumpkin juice at either 3 broomsticks or Hogshead. Oh, the Hogshead sign is missing. I don't know how long it's been gone, but it's missing right now. Jeez Louise, look at the crane just flying. Alright, and that wraps up today's video here at Universal. We'll be back very, very soon as we get more announcements for Horror Nights and more details for Horror Nights. I'm JP, and how they say in the movies, that's a wrap. I'll see you guys in the next one.